Okay, so now we will be looking at how to render your plants, and I will be using the Faber-Castell pencils, color pencils. I have the 12 shades box here, so I don't have a lot of shades options, but when you are drafting or rendering your plan with colors, you should always use uh, very subtle colors which are not very bright. You should use sort of pastel shades, or if you have something like this, you should try to use a very light hand to color, so it looks good. You should try to use you should never use contrasting colors unless it's necessary and you want to bring attention to a certain part of the drawing. You should not use contrasting colors. You should always use yeah, the complementary color schemes. So if you're using yellow, or use something which is nearby to it in the in the color wheel, right? So try to use that. Try, if you are going for a monochromatic look, that is also fine. So you could use just the graphite pencils to sort of create a very pencil shaded sort of a drawing, or you could go with something like yellows or grays or reds and shades of that to create an to have that sort of an effect. You could use beige also. Beige looks good actually. Grays also look good, but attractive plants are always color. I mean, it's not necessary that monochrome doesn't look good. Sometimes people prefer monochrome. Some people prefer the colored plants. So this is a printout of a drawing, and I'm using a very normal sort of paper. But if you are using cartridge pencils, will give you a better effect. It's always better to have a little rough sheet for the pencils to uh, so the pencils actually are seen. If it's a smooth, the pencil won't work really well, because what essentially the pencil does is that the paper is like a sandpaper, and you're like rubbing the pencils, and the pencil is sort of shedding its color onto the sheet. So if it's a smooth paper, it won't shed its color. The color won't stay on the paper as good as it would on a rougher sheet. Of course, you should not go with a very rough texture, because then you would not be able to draw all these lines and you would not get that sort of an efficiency. But a cartridge sheet is a very perfect sheet for sort of drawing, to draw by hand on the all the plans and sections. So I'm going to use a yellow shade here. It's sort of a lemon it's cadmium yellow. I'm going to use that and try to render this plan. So here we have the I'll be using this for the floor. I'll be using the darker shade of yellow, a mix of these two to for the bed. I would be using the browns, this brown uh, for the beds, and let's see how it turns out. And when you're coloring, always try to color on in one direction. Do not go and do this and then this direction and then circles. Don't try to do that. You always use one direction for all the drawings. I am not pressing it and putting a lot of pressure. I am just coloring this, and try to be precise. Paint between the lines, because this is a technical drawings. It should be, the lines should be properly visible. I'm trying to be as precise as possible. You should take your time. You should always plan ahead of kind of drawings you require. You should allot a certain amount of time. You should be well planned, because in the end you are architects, and planning is it's going to be your forte. So this is not only about planning the space, but also planning your time. Architects are first and foremost managers of the site and the construction process. So in this part, I will just darken it a bit so that it looks like it's a shadow. It gives a little 3D effect to the drawing. Okay, now I will use the yellow ochre color to give a very light shade to the bed. Always try to give a uniform shade to this. I will use a different color for the pillow. We'll do the same thing here. We'll darken these parts. And put a little bit more pressure to get that darkness. also use a little different color for the, or a darker color for these kind of folds that we are seeing here. We'll use a little bit orange here to give that extra shade. Notice orange is a little darker version of yellow in terms of value, so I'm just using this very lightly just below this to sort of show the shadow. Use it here as well. And I will use the light yellow for the pillow. Of course, you could use a little different color for that. Just showing a little shadow. Here. Now I'm going to use this to get a very light shade for the floor. Right? And then I'm actually going to draw the lines of the flooring tiles. something like this. And you could actually color each tile on the edges to get a certain 3D effect, and to separate each tile and to achieve a little bit more detail to your plan. Like this. I'm using the yellow ochre instead of the cadmium yellow. It's a darker shade of yellow. Even if I'm just doing it very lightly, it's still visible, and it's still visible over the lighter yellow. You could even show some sort of a texture on this. Now I will use a subtle blue for the sofa chair. And I'm going to darken it on these parts. I'm also going to use a little darker shade to get that depth. I will now color the wardrobe. I'm going to color the, okay, first I'm going to color the uh, potted plant here with green. And then I'm going to color the side table. Be very careful, it will take time to achieve a good drawing. It takes time. Even I am doing a little bit fast for the purposes of the video, but you should be taking a little bit more time to achieve that kind of accuracy. So this plant is actually not that visible, so I'm going to use micron pen to actually draw over the leaves, or the portion of it. It's okay to do this because it's an organic thing. It's freehand, adds to that effect. But if it's that potted plant, you should use stencil to draw that. Now I'm going to color the walls. So here I'm using a red pencil, but you could use a darker maroon or so. Since I don't have a maroon pencil, I'll be using this. And then I'll put another layer of a brown to give it that sort of look or that darkness. I think there's something below this sheet, so it's creating a texture here. You should avoid that. This paper is also thin, so whatever a very small undulations on the board might also cause this sort of a thing. But remember, the walls should be darker than everything else because they are the actual sort of construction that we would be doing, and those are the boundaries of any room and any building. So they should be very, very strong in your drawing, as they should be in real life. Unless it's a frame structure, you don't really need the walls to be that strong. It needs the frame needs to be that strong. Some buildings don't even have walls right now nowadays. Okay, so I colored them. I'm going to use a very light wash of this brown to create that effect of the natural dark maroon brownish brick color. The good thing about pencil colors is they actually blend well together. So even if you don't have any shades, you could blend together two different colors and get a new color or a mixture of that. There's some construction going on near me, so it's a little noisy here. And I'm going to use this blue to show the glass on the window. Just lightly, very lightly going to color those two parts, which is the wall. And then I'm going to use this to create that darker blue of the window. Right, so I feel that this portion is not that it's not separating with the wall, so I'm going to darken it a bit. So a little color is actually going that side, so I'm going to use this scale to as a shield so it doesn't go on that side. A little bit more darker to achieve better readability and better nice rendering to make it better. You could even add a little bit of blue for the shade. It creates a nice color. It's deep color. Always use blue for shadows. It's nice. Persian blue is a nice color for shadow. It doesn't look dull like if you use black, and it gives that impression of the shadow. Just a little bit here as well. Very light. I will also darken this edges here. If you are sure that your drawing is perfect when you have drawn with pencil, what you could do is you could draw it with the pencil first, and then color, and then on top of it you could do the inking with microns. I'm going to use this to show the shadow here. So shadow should ideally always be shown at a 45 degrees angle. So if I draw an angle, this should be 45, right? So this will be 45, and then I will have this shadow here will be this way. Okay, so this is it. I will scan this part and place it in the video. I'll also darken these child lines with the brown pencil. Don't do it, Rian.